Chair Nathanson, co-chairs, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Bobby Levy, State Representative for House District 58, and I'm a chief sponsor of Senate Bill 498. Senate Bill 498 deals with the issue known by different names, the estate tax, inheritance tax, or commonly known as the death tax. It refers to it as an estate tax in Senate Bill 498. It's a huge issue for natural resource families in Oregon. Currently, Oregon has an optional natural resource credit for farm, forest, or fishing property in Oregon. The property must be transferred to a family member and owned and used for specific purposes 5 out of 8 years preceding and after the decedent's death. The credit reduces taxes in proportion to the value of the natural resource property, with the proportion calculated as natural resource property, up to $7.5 million divided by adjusted gross estate. It is available to estates up to $15 million in adjusted gross estate if the specified property is at least 50% of the adjusted gross estate value in Oregon. Senate Bill 498 would streamline this process for farming, fishing, and forestry families, adding an exemption for natural resource property in Oregon that could be used instead of the existing credit. The exemption could apply to an interest in natural resource property up to $15 million in Oregon estates of any size if the property was held by the decedent for 1 year prior to the decedent's death. You can't time your death. A straight exemption, Senate Bill 498, will make it so much easier and less expensive for our natural resource families to use. The Dash-4 amendment adds requirement that exempted natural resource property be owned by a family member of the decedent for 5 years prior to the decedent's death and for 5 consecutive calendar years following the decedent's death. It requires material participation of a family member of 75% of each year, 5 years prior to the decedent's death and 5 years after. It reimposes a tax eliminated by the exclusion if the property is sold or transferred to a person other than a family member in the 5 calendar years after the decedent's death, or if a material participation requirement is not met. We produce a lot of food and fiber for the Oregon economy, and I believe we need to do all we can to help families stay farming. Because if we do not, corporate farming organizations are ready to gobble up available farmland, including the farms who were unable to transition to the next generation because of foreclosure due to unpayable estate tax bill. It was heard several times and worked to ensure that our natural resource families were getting the relief they needed in the Senate, and I urge you all to vote affirmative. Thank you.